Hello everyone. Today we are going to do the second part of the notes for Chapter 22, Section 1 on electric current, and today we're going to talk about drawing circuit diagrams. So our learning target today is to be able to identify and practice the symbols used in drawing circuit diagrams, and our two questions are: what are circuit diagram symbols and why would we use them? So let's start, as we always do, with a little bit of review here. So the three parts of a working circuit, we just did this last class, so hopefully you remember, but you have to have a source of charge, and that can be a battery, or you can plug something into a wall, or it could be a photovoltaic cell, or it could be a windmill, right? You have to have a source of charge. You have to have a path for those electrons to flow on, and it has to be a closed path, is what we discovered, right? It has to go from one side of the battery all the way around to the other side. And then finally, you have to make that current do some work for you. So it has to be, you have to have some kind of a device in your circuit that's going to use that current. And it could be a light bulb, or it could be a motor, or it could be a fan, or it could be a cell phone, right? Something that's going to use the current. All right, and then the second review question here is, what is the difference between electric current and an electric circuit? Remember, I told you those two things sound very similar, so you have to be careful about what you're talking about. So the difference between current and circuit: electric current is the flow of charged particles, and we said specifically those are electrons, whereas an electric circuit occurs when the current does some kind of work for you, right? So you have to have a current in order to have a circuit. You do not have to have a circuit in order to have current, okay? So hopefully that's familiar to you. If not, you might want to go back and listen to those notes again from yesterday or from last time. So our essential questions: what are circuit diagram symbols and why are they used? So circuit diagram symbols are kind of exactly what they sound like. They are standard symbols for the parts of a circuit. And why do we use them? Well, you probably already figured this one out. We use them because then anyone can interpret I think I didn't spell that right, can interpret a diagram, right? Whether or not you speak the same language, whether or not you are even in the same part of the country or the world, everybody uses the same symbols so that everybody can understand diagrams. All right, so let's take a look at what we're talking about. So this is an electric circuit, right? We have a source of electrons, we have a battery, we have a wire, right? This happens to have a switch in it, so we can turn it off and on, but we have a wire so that our electrons, that's our path, right? Our electrons can travel on our path. We have a device. Here's our device, the light bulb, and we can see that the current is going into the light bulb, it's going through the light bulb, it's coming out of the light bulb, so it's doing work for us. And then our path is complete as it goes around to the other side of the circle. All right, so there's our circuit. Now, if I wanted to do that with symbols, I would take each component. So I would take the battery, I would take the switch, I would take the light bulb, and I would take the wires. And instead of drawing the actual thing, I would draw some kind of a symbol that stood for it. So if I look up here, and I know it's a little bit blurry, here's our battery, okay? And then here's our switch. Here's our light bulb, and finally the whole thing is connected with wires that show the direction or show the path that the current is taking. Okay? So what we've done is we've taken a drawing which has actual objects on it, batteries, light bulbs, switches, and we've turned it into a diagram which is showing us all the same information. It's just doing it with standard symbols. Okay? So the hardest part here is going to be learning what symbols stand for what. So let's go ahead and fill in our chart here so that you can see what symbols stand for what. So let's start with a battery. So a battery is a set of long and short lines, and you can draw as few as 2. I tend to draw 4 just because that's what I was taught in high school, but you don't have to. 2 is fine, 4 is fine, 6 is fine. You probably don't want to do more than that. Okay, it just takes up a lot of space. And usually we show the positive and the negative end of this battery. All right, so we put a little plus and a minus, and that's battery. And I would draw a line going up here and a line going down here to show it connected to some wires. Okay? Now, you can draw it sideways like that, and I didn't leave myself a lot of room here, did I? Let's see if I can move that over a little bit. Okay? You can draw it sideways like that, or you can also draw it lengthways like this, and it's going to work exactly the same way. All right? So there's really no right or wrong way. You don't have to draw it up and down or sideways, whatever's comfortable to you. I tend to draw mine up and down, again, because that's how I was taught to do it in high school. It's amazing how long those things last. All right, so there's our battery. So a lamp. A lamp is what we usually say instead of light bulb. So anytime you see the word lamp, it's going to mean a light bulb. And there are 2 different ways to draw a lamp that you'll see. One has a little curly Q in it, so it's a circle. And again, the 2 lines on the sides are wires. Or sometimes you see it with an X. And both of those things mean lamp, and you can choose to use whichever one you want, okay? They're interchangeable. Whichever one you like, you can choose to use. All right, next symbol is a wire, and you've got this one figured out, right? A wire is just a line, and it can go in any direction. Okay, well, I'm sorry, it can go up and down, or it can go sideways. We don't usually draw them diagonally, okay? We usually make our circuits in nice, neat boxes. All right, so wires are just straight lines showing how the charge moves. And then a switch. So we're going to be building some circuits that have switches in them. And a switch, if it's open, looks like this. All right, and we generally show where the connections would be. All right, so there's my open switch. And if it's closed, it just looks like this. So you're going to see it both ways. We draw it open more often just because it's easier to notice, right? It's kind of hard sometimes to notice this closed switch if you're not really paying attention. So often we'll draw them open. All right, let's keep going. So a resistor. We haven't really talked about resistors yet. That's going to come in your Ed Puzzle as homework this weekend and next week. A resistor is something that lowers the current in a circuit. And so a resistor looks like this. So there's a wire, and then here's my resistor, and then there's another wire connecting it to the circuit. So I think of those as mountains, but you can think of them however you want, I suppose. All right, so that's a resistor. A motor is anything that changes our electrical energy into kinetic energy, right? So motors spin, and a motor is, those are wires again, right? And so it kind of looks like this. Nope, wait, I did that wrong. Let me try that part again. There we go. That's what I want it to look like. So it looks like a circle between 2 diagonal lines. So that's how you would draw a motor. A voltmeter is a device that measures voltage in a circuit. We're going to use those next week as well. So here's our voltage meter, a voltmeter, and it's just a circle with a V in it. The 2 lines are wires again. And an ammeter is a device that measures current in a circuit. Remember, current is amperes, so an ammeter measures current in a circuit. And it's just a circle with an A in it, and the 2 lines on the sides again are wires. All right? So there are lots and lots and lots of symbols, but these are the ones that we are going to use in class this year. Okay, if you were to Google it, you would come up with pages of symbols. But these are the ones that we're mostly going to use. All right, so let's see. How would we do a problem here? So example problem number 1. I have a circuit, all right? So that implies a closed loop. My circuit has a battery, it has a lamp, it has a switch, and it has wires. And I'm going to draw a diagram of this circuit. That's the problem. All right, so I'm just going to go in order here because it doesn't say anything different. So I'm going to draw my battery first. I'm going to put my little positive and negative there to show where the plus and minus ends are. And next thing on my list here is a battery, so I'm going to come up. Like I said, we always do these in nice, neat squares or rectangles, so I'm going to make a right angle. Here's my lamp. I'm going to draw a squiggly. And then I'm going to make a nice right angle again. Here's my switch. Now it doesn't say open or close, so I'm going to draw it open. I'm going to put my connections here. Okay. And then it says wires. Now I can't stop, right, because I have to have a complete circuit, so it has to go all the way back to the other side of the battery. So now I have a battery, I have a lamp, I have a switch, and my wires that make a nice closed circuit. So that's the diagram of this circuit. All right. Once you know the symbols, you can also interpret. So now this time I gave you a picture. We're going to describe this circuit in words. So what do we see in this circuit? Well, I always start with the battery. So I'm going to say this is a closed circuit, right? Because when I look at it, I can see that the wire, the wire goes all the way around. Okay, so it's a closed circuit with a battery, because it has my battery symbol there. And then I can see, so here's my battery symbol. I put that in my words. And then I have two lamp symbols. So I'm going to say a battery, 2 lamps, or you could say light bulbs if you'd rather say light bulbs, same thing. All right, and then I get to this symbol right here, and if I look back up in the chart, I can see that that is an ammeter symbol. So my circuit has a battery, 2 lamps, an ammeter, and then I am up to this set of dots right here, and I know if I look back up here that that is a closed switch. So I am going to say a closed switch and wires. Okay. So my description, a battery, 2 lamps, an ammeter, a closed switch, and wires, describes all the parts of this circuit. All right, so these are your turn. There's one where you're going to draw, one that you are going to interpret, and then two that you are going to calculate. Oh, wait, that last one's a review question. All right, so 1 to draw, 1 to interpret, and 1 to calculate, and then a review question. As always, if you have anything you want to talk about with these notes, make sure you just write it on the side there, and we can talk about it in class next time. All right, I'll see you in class.